Okay, so I'm Jana Parker. I want to thank everybody for coming. I'm the transition program specialist for Fremont Union High School District, and I want to say a huge thank you to everyone for being here. If you are a guest to this group, then welcome. We are so thrilled that you're here. I thought that before we start, when we only have a short amount of time, but I thought it would be helpful to provide some background on who participates in these meetings, and also talk about how we developed this concept for today and kind of where we're going with it. So our best practice group consists of educators who work in the transition departments of our high schools that are in the region. And the funding for the departments comes primarily from Workability, which is a grant through the California Department of Education, and also the Transition Partnership Program contracts, and those are through the Department of Rehabilitation. And these grants and contracts provide funding for transition-related services for students who have disabilities. So our overarching goal is to provide real quality transition services to students. These are a population of students who really benefit from having a little more support and guidance in exploring and preparing for their future. And our region extends from Palo Alto over up Santa Clara to Milpitas, down to Eastside and Gilroy and San Benito and Salinas, and then out to Pajaro Valley and Santa Cruz, and really everywhere in between. So we're this huge region, and we represent about 17 to 20 high school districts, and then we also have some non-public schools that attend our meetings as well. So for me, like after working in K-12 public education for almost 15 years and learning about the system, and even thinking back to my own childhood and experience that I had in school, I just want to take a moment to highlight who I perceive are some of the most valuable members of the high school teams, and often a best kept secret. And those are the members of this group. So personally, for me, I was a good student. School was my jam. I knew that I was going to go away to college from the time I was 5 years old. But not once do I remember any educator talking to me about anything other than what universities I was going to apply to. And the counselor supported me in my quest, but what I did to prepare was meet the requirements, write my essay, apply. I took community college courses, I took AP classes, I started college with a full quarter worth of course credit. So I started college already having, a whole quarter done. So I took college like I took high school. I did it fast, and I did it for the grades. And then when I finished early, I had no idea what I was supposed to do. So I don't remember getting any guidance through high school or through college in adulting or anything that had to do with being an adult. So there I was with a degree, and I had no idea where to go from there. I bring this up because transition services don't typically exist for students who know how to do school, but they do exist for some of those students who have barriers, and in our case, it's for students who have disabilities. These educators in the transition departments, the participants in this best practice group, they work for the students who need that extra love, extra support, guidance, and connection. And connecting our students to post-secondary education is really one of the key components of our programs. So the people in this room today work directly with students to assist them in exploring their options for post-secondary education and training, and literally walking them through the process step by step. We highly value the community college system and the CTE pathways because they provide clear and direct roads to tangible future goals. And they may be able to engage students who may not have been engaged in your typical education. So I tell you all this for two reasons. First, because I want to let the educators in the room know how critical you are to our student success, and I just want to really thank you for all of the hard work that you did this year and that you do every year. And second, I want the guests in the room to understand that you are in this room with educators who are your biggest supporters and partners and advocates. So that being said, we've been building this partnership with the Santa Clara County Office of Education and the Bay Area Community College Consortium. I've been in consistent contact with Joelle Hansen, who's the CTE coordinator for the Santa Clara County Office of Ed, and with Nanette Solveson and Sharon Turner, who are some of the key talent of the BACCC. And our conversations have spawned the beginning of this project, which you are all either contributing to or witnessing today. So our ultimate goal for this project is to develop comprehensive recorded presentations for our students from as many sectors as possible that really break down the components of the pathways. Our students really benefit from engaging but direct, targeted, helpful, and thorough instruction. And our educators can use these presentations in so many ways. We can use them in classes, we can use them one-on-one, we can use them in virtual learning platforms. So, obviously, well, let's say, these presentations can be used by all of our high school programs, and they can connect our students not only to our community colleges, but to pathways and ultimately to industries. So obviously these presentations could also be used by anyone interested in exploring CTE pathways. So we want to make them really available for all. So here we are extremely fortunate to have 5 of the 10 regional directors from the BACCC presenting to our group today. And these are really just breaking the ice for us. So the presentations have been developed as if they're for students, but as the educators, we get a sneak peek into each sector. I really want to thank the regional directors for putting this information together so quickly. I encourage our educators to provide feedback to me over the email or using the link if you feel that there's something that you want to be added or shifted to benefit the students that we work with. Because again, ultimately these are going to be longer and more comprehensive, but we wanted as many sectors as possible to be able to present to us today. And we asked to pull this together really quickly. So again, thank you. And we also have the opportunity to have the additional 5 sectors present to us if we can find a date that works for us within this next month or so we can discuss that later too. So without further ado, I want to present to you the following regional directors who will present for us today. And please, if I don't say your name correctly, please correct me when you give your presentation. But from Health, we have Nanette Solveson. From Advanced Manufacturing, Mark Martin. From Retail, Hospitality, and Tourism, Audrey Lebadour, maybe. From Energy, Construction, and Utilities, Carlos Santamaria. From Life Sciences and Biotechnology, Josie Setti. So I'm going to advance the slides for each presenter. I'm going to play the timekeeper, and I'm going to hope that the technology works. And I'm already 5 minutes ahead of schedule, so I'm really excited. Again, let me just ask that you please mute yourself. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I will not be looking at the chat during this. I'm going to be helping to manage the presentation. But at the end of each presenter, I'll cut you off at 15 minutes. And then we'll have 5 minutes for questions. And Joelle will be the one who looks at the chat and then says the questions to me and then, or to the presenter. And then we will be able to answer those questions. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to present to you Nanette Solveson.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thanks to Jana and Joelle and my partner, Sharon Turner, for working on this. I'm really excited about doing it. So my name is Nanette Solveson. I'm the Regional Director for Health. Next slide. So I think when you're talking to students about careers in healthcare, the most important thing that I think you could do is to really stress and bring it home that it's not just about doctors and nurses. Next slide. Students have many, many choices when it comes to healthcare careers. And what you can see is, I need to move some of my screen around so that I can see everything. So I'm going to just walk through some of these choices and you can see how varied they are. Dental hygienist. It turns out in this area, we actually have both baccalaureate level training and associate level training in dental hygiene. Pharmacy technology, radiologic technology, also called X-ray techs, certified nursing assistants, licensed vocational nursing, medical lab technologists, paramedic, orthopedic techs, emergency medical technologists, physical therapy assistants, community health workers, sonographers, dental assistants, surgical techs, nurses, medical assistants, respiratory therapists. Respiratory therapy is similar to dental hygiene in that we have both an associate's degree and a baccalaureate degree training program in this area, and home health aid. And there are many, many more programs than these, but this is just a short list. It is, however, a list and indicates how extensive the training is for each one of these careers, because they're all offered at our local community colleges. Next slide. So with this many choices, how would a student decide what they wanted to do? Next slide. Let's see, just close this. So if I were talking to a student who was thinking about a healthcare career, I would begin by asking them, what do you like? How do you like to work? And then what kinds of things do you like to do? So for example, do you like working in a fast-paced, high-energy environment? And if you do, you might think about an EMT, paramedic, nurse, respiratory therapist, or psych tech. If you don't like that sort of high-intensity environment, you might prefer working in a doctor's office, so maybe a medical assistant, physical therapy assistant, LVN, CNA, or a home health aide. If you have a student who really enjoys working with equipment and they're really sort of technical minded, but they still want direct patient care, to be a direct patient care provider, and they're sort of procedurally oriented, then X-ray technology or rad tech, orthopedic tech, surgical tech, or sonography would be a good choice. You may also have students who are technically oriented, but they do not want to be involved in direct patient care. For those students, medical lab technology would be an excellent choice. And we actually have an excellent med lab tech program at De Anza College, and it's actually the only one in the region. You may also have students who are interested in health, being part of the healthcare workforce, but they really don't imagine themselves as providing direct patient care. For those kinds of students, something of the career of a community health worker is becoming more and more a high-profile provider of healthcare. And they're actually not a provider, they're actually a liaison between varied communities and with healthcare providers. So they're actually very trusted members of communities. They're often multilingual, and they help address the access to healthcare, which is limited in some communities. And then also, of course, we have social workers, dietitians, and public health officers. So you can see there's quite a few choices for students, and you really need to do a little bit of digging in terms of what the students' basic interests are. Next slide. One of the things that I've learned very quickly in this job is that students would prefer to hear from other students than from me. And so in thinking about that, we decided to develop some student videos of students who are either currently, oh, is it, I can't hear it. Jana? Yeah, I'm not able to hear it. I still can't hear it.
Nanette, you might need to share your own screen and run it from yours.
I thought you could hear it when we did it.
I did. I could
Jana,
hear it.
you were muted. Jana, you were muted when you were playing.
That's why. Okay. Oh, because I was muted. Haha. Okay. Here we go. Here we go.
Okay, let's start over.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I graduated from Gunn High School.
Hi, my name's Kirk. I went to Tahoma High School in Seattle, Washington.
Hey everybody, my name is Raj. I went to San Mateo High School and I am a Bay Area native.
The main purpose of a radiologic technologist, also known as an X-ray tech, is to obtain medical images of the body while providing safety and care for patients. Doctors, called radiologists, read and interpret our X-ray images and provide a diagnosis. So we play an important role in a patient's health journey. We work closely with patients at various stages of trauma. We take X-rays in the emergency room and even the operating. If you like Grey's Anatomy, this is for you. One of the great things is that there are also opportunities to further your career into different imaging areas, such as fluoroscopy, CT, MRI, mammography, angiography, and ultrasound. To add to that, there are opportunities to work in dedicated centers for urgent care, pediatrics, as well as traveling positions that can take you across the country and even the world. Radiologic technology is a remarkable career with endless opportunities to make a positive difference in a patient's life.
So you can stop there, Jana, you can stop there. And then return to the presentation. So I chose this one because, again, these are these are students that are currently enrolled in the Rad Tech program at Foothill College, and 2 of them actually went to high school here in the Bay Area. And that particular video goes on for 6 minutes, and you can see in that video that this is one of those careers where the students would be interacting a lot with equipment. It's very procedural technique oriented with a high emphasis on, they interact a lot with patients. The second one that I want to show you is done by students who are recent graduates of the community.
I go by the pronoun she, her.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. No, go ahead.
Okay.
Hers.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mariana, and I go by the pronouns she, her, hers.
Hi, Mariana. So we were invited to speak about what a community health worker is and what they do for the community and why we are essential. Do you want to explain what a community worker does?
Yeah, of course. So a community health worker is a trusted member of the community, and we have a better understanding of the needs that communities are facing and the challenges as well. We are the bridge that connects the community members or people that are facing challenging circumstances to a healthcare provider. And at the same time, we practice what is cultural humility, and we help increase awareness, and we are recognized by the healthcare team, and we create trainings and workshops on different topics related to health and prevention.
Okay, Jana, you can stop there. So I chose these 2 different videos so that you could see really that, you know, the community health workers are, both of those students are bilingual. One of them is trilingual. You can see that they, you know, first identified themselves by the pronouns. They're very culturally astute, and they are not people who are going to work directly with patients, but they are really going to be very important members of the healthcare community as we move forward. So, so we're going to have a lot of these videos. You're welcome to take them, use them however you'd like. Another thing I would do is have students take assessments. There are lots of assessments out there. There's a very quick one. We don't need to go there now, but it asks just a series of maybe 10 questions and then provide you with some options of different careers in healthcare. If you're working in the get focused, stay focused career, path training, the chapter 5 is excellent, and it's called Your Ideal Career in Career Choices and Changes. And you can see they really work through the physical settings, working conditions, and the variety of different things a person would think about to help them choose what career they wanted to pursue. So next, Jana. So then here we go, back to where we were. Where do you want to work? Do you want to work on an ambulance? Do you want to work in a pharmacy, retail versus hospital? Or do you want to work in a hospital in the ER or taking care of patients? So then I have this graph here where you can actually help students think about the environment they want to work at, and then you can look down and see the different professions that the student would actually then look into. So for example, if you really want to work on an ambulance, then you would become an EMT, a paramedic, or sometimes nurses work on ambulances as well. Next slide. So how long is the training? I think one thing you really do want to be sure that students are aware is that this training takes different amounts of time. The shortest trainings are less than a year. And if you really want to be a doctor or a pharmacist or a dentist, are going to be in college. You're going to be in college for 4 years and then more than 4 years of training after. But all of the programs that I've shown you today were programs you can complete at community colleges without a baccalaureate degree. Next slide. So if you wanted to break this down for students, it's important for them to know that some programs have prerequisites. There are some that have few to no prerequisites, and I've listed those programs there. There are programs that have only a single year of prerequisites, and those are respiratory, rad tech, nursing, paramedic. There are some programs that really have 2 complete years of prerequisites, and that is the dental hygiene program and also sonography. And then, of course, if the student wanted to go to become a doctor or dentist or pharmacist, you have to have a bachelor's degree before you can even apply to those programs. Next slide. So this is the number of years it would take to complete your program, including the prerequisites, right? So I've built in here the amount of time it would take to complete the prerequisites, as well as the amount of time the training actually takes. So you can see there are quite a few choices that you can complete in less than a year. Lots of other choices that take between 2 to 3 years. And then there are longer term, 3 to 4 years. And then of course the doctor, dentist, and pharmacist, which are more than 4 years. Next slide. You should also spend some time talking to students to make sure that they understand that in general, the longer the training time, the higher the salary. So the more time you spend in school in these training programs, the higher your salary will become. Next slide. So then if a student has sort of worked their way through all these things, and then let's say the student decides, I want to be a nurse, you would look at this chart and say, okay, these are our community colleges here. So I see nursing is offered at De Anza, Evergreen, Gavilan also has nursing, Hartnell, and so on. So not every program is offered at every college. The programs are generally sprinkled around to multiple community colleges. We actually have 18 nursing programs in the whole Bay Area. There's 5 rad tech programs, 6 respiratory therapy programs, 5 paramedic programs, lots of EMT programs, lots of medical assisting programs. And so the student really would want to look to see, which program is closest to them, and then go on to those college websites and look for the specific prerequisites and begin to apply. Next slide. So the last thing that I want to say, I know that where Jana is, they're really encouraging students to go through the process of applying to California community colleges so that every student has a college-wide ID. That is what you need to actually apply to enroll in a course. So I think it's really a very good idea to go through that process with high school students before they graduate, because once they get that CWID, they're able to enroll in community college. So I'll stop here and take any questions.
Wonderful. Joelle, do you have any questions for us?
So Jana, Christy says that she has heard that the X-ray tech programs are impacted and hard to get in since there are very limited spaces. Are there impacted programs?
They are. So that's a very good point. And this was a pretty short seminar, and I wanted to give you a talk, and I wanted to give you a taste of everything without going into so many details. But you're right. And when I used to be the dean at Foothill College before I had this job, and there are many healthcare programs at Foothill. The most popular program that often got between 200 and 300 applicants a year was the rad tech program. And there are only about 24 seats. So it is highly impacted. However, 2 of the 3 students that you saw in that rad tech video got in their first year. So it is impacted, and we do have students who apply multiple years before they finally get in. And my recommendation is to students, I mentioned there are 5 rad tech programs in the Bay Area. Most students who are really serious about doing this will apply to all 5 programs. Even if it's a 2-year commitment, it's a 2-year program, it might be a little inconvenient to go to a program that's not like in your backyard, but for students who are really serious about this, that's the strategy they take. But you are right, they are impacted.
So, Nanette, Shannon is asking, are you recommending that students apply before they are sure that they would like to enroll for summer or for the 2021 school year so they can get the ID, the school ID?
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, it's free. There's no, you don't have to take any like SAT. I don't even know. I'm so old. I don't even know if the SAT is still offered or still part of what you do when you apply to college. You don't have, you know, it's free to apply, and the link is there. You get a college-wide ID, and then the students can use that at any community college to enroll in a class. So yes, it's my recommendation that if I had my way, no student would leave high school without going through this process, because there's no downside to it. If they decide they don't want to pursue it, they don't have to, but if they want to, it can be, for some reason, I don't understand why, some students find it confusing. So it's good to do it while they're still in school, and you can walk them through if they get stuck.
So Andrew's asking, are there any programs you're aware of that are on hold specific to enrollment rolling out in the summer or fall due to COVID?
Well, that's a really good question. I am not aware of any programs that are not going to be moving forward. Now that could change. It could change, but right now, and I'm staying in pretty close contact with all the programs, right now colleges really want to have a strong fall, and they're doing everything they can to make online learning rich and robust and successful for students.
Katie's wondering if it's still the same, that the students that would like to apply for those impacted programs would be required to complete the prerequisites prior to be considered for those programs.
Yes. Well, okay. So most of these programs require that a student complete all of their prerequisites before they will even look at their application, before they can apply. Now, I'll be real honest, there are sometimes years where sometimes the program might not get as many applicants as they have seats for. In that case, they might take a student who had something that was in process. It's always worth contacting the specific program and asking those questions. But in general, the best thing for a student to do is to take all the classes and have those prerequisites completed before they apply.
And Richard was just asking for clarification, but said that Gavilan College, there's a community college application and an allied health application as well?
So the community college application, you have to have a CWID in order to enroll in any classes, whether you're just taking English or whatever, tennis, golf. You have to have a CWID to enroll for that class. Separate from that, there's an application process for many of those programs that I talked about, especially the ones that are impacted. There's a separate application process. Part of that application process is that you submit your transcripts, you prove that you've done all the prerequisites, you go into a lottery, and that's how they select students for those impacted programs.
How are we doing on time, Jana? Do we have time for more questions?
Yeah, we have 4 minutes. They'll mark.
Go ahead and type any more questions you may have of Nanette in the chat. And if not, we can, if you have a question that comes up, it pops up later in the middle of, which oftentimes does in my head, go ahead and put it in the chat anyways, because we'll be able to record it and hopefully answer it at a later time.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, let's move on to Mark, shall we? Mark, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure. Jana, if it's possible, can I share my screen?
Yeah, you know what? I can do that. Yep.
I think you have to unshare yours. Okay. Thank you. First off, why am I wearing a face shield if I'm talking about manufacturing? And the reason is actually we're going to be manufacturing these in Northern California soon. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit more about that at the beginning. At the end, face shields and other PPE have been a major issue on getting the supplies of. I think we're doing relatively okay now here in the Bay Area. But it was a concern certainly a month ago when we started the process, and we had to get a mold and stuff. And so, but we're going to be having production of these in the in the Bay Area and available to those in the Bay Area, but also to people throughout the U.S. and even overseas if that's where the demand is and the supply is not there. So we're going to be doing that. So let me switch to my own screen here so that I can control a little bit more. Can you see that okay?
Yep. Okay,
great. So I'm Mark Martin, and I'm the Regional Director for advanced manufacturing in the Bay Area. So I hold the role that Nanette rolls. She is in health, I'm in manufacturing. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what's happening with manufacturing in the Bay Area. But first I wanted to show this video. I thought this was a nice little video talking about manufacturing, because a lot of times today, kids and even parents and teachers and counselors aren't exposed to manufacturing. So this is some kids seeing their first experience with it.
I didn't want to come to
see it
summer
okay?
camp. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it would be boring.
Did you know much about manufacturing?
No, not at all. No, I thought it was gonna be different.
At school, they just told us that they used it to make cars in like 1960.
When I came here, I was nervous.
I saw these machines. I was like, I don't know what they are, but they'll show me. And then I fell in love with it.
I was really excited when they said we will work with 3D printers.
Once you really get into it, it's probably the best thing that you've ever seen.
We learned how manufacturing works with Legos. We're building components for lockers that are going to go in the space shuttles.
It's definitely not like what I thought it would be. It's a lot of teamwork. I think the future of manufacturing will be smarter technologies.
Manufacturing today, I see it as something that anybody can do.
It was really fun. It was fun. Making stuff is fun.
Pretty much everything we do comes from manufacturing. Without manufacturing, I don't know how the world will look like.
So I thought that's a nice little summary of kids who just don't have the opportunity to see what manufacturing is about and to experience it. And the Dream It, Do It program is something that is done by the National Association of Manufacturers, and we actually have a version of that here in the Bay Area through the Association of Manufacturers Bay Area. We have ambassadors that used to be able to go out to classrooms and talk to them. We're working about doing that online so that students can at least hear from other younger folks about their jobs in manufacturing. So if you're interested in that, please contact me and I'll get the information out about it as well. But overall, manufacturing in the Bay Area is quite robust. The fact is it represents about 9 or 10% of the GDP of the Bay Area. The employment is actually a little bit lower because of the kind of the efficiency and the productivity of manufacturing in the United States. So a lot of smart workers using technology to increase their productivity and the amount that they can produce. But here's just a few things in the Bay Area that are made. There's everything from, we actually make rockets in Alameda, small springs, which are, can be 1 or 2 cents each. But they're actually made here in the Bay Area because of that productivity and efficiency. Jelly Bellies, obviously up in Fairfield, we make little vials, which are actually becoming highly critical with the vaccines and various things coming on. They're actually talking about there might be a shortage of vials in order to have the vaccines in to be able to give shots. Obviously, Tesla, we have a company called Sail Drone. We make robots. We do foundry work where you're actually casting materials. And then we're doing a lot of infrastructure things as well, like water, wastewater. If you work, you get your water from East Bay Mud or others, they're hiring machinists, welders, and others to maintain that infrastructure. So there's just a wide range of types of manufacturers in the Bay Area, which makes it actually very resilient in the sense of, if Tesla, went out, that's a big hit, but we have quite a few other types of industries. We're not like a Detroit, where it's really focused on automotive manufacturing. We just have a wide range of different industries out there. And so here's just a few of the types of careers that we have in the Bay Area. Everything from computer controlled machines, which they call CNC machines, which cut metal, electrical and electronic engineering techs, supervisors, obviously, of those jobs, industrial machinery mechanics and maintenance people. It's critical aspect of and highly skilled work where they're actually maintaining the automated equipment and the robotic equipment that is used out there to manufacture in the food industry or at Tesla or a range of other types of companies. Quality assurance, which is key, because one of the reasons the U.S. is able to produce here, even though we have higher labor costs, is because of the high quality of the components that we manufacture. And so quality assurance is very important. Machinists, welders, and there's quite a few other types of jobs out there in manufacturing. I'm going to cover just 5 of them, very quickly, just with some numbers and such. So we'll go over that. One of the things I like to do, though, before I show the numbers, and this is just going to be the salary numbers as well as the labor market information on the demand for these each year, is to look at a benchmark, just so a lot of you are in the education field. So here's a benchmark from the same data set that I'm getting ready to show you the numbers for manufacturing. So elementary school teachers, median annual earnings, $77,000 a year. And this is for the 12-county Bay Area, and this is from some 2018. And the kind of projected annual openings is 3,000. So that gives you a baseline that you may be familiar with. So let's look at some of the advanced manufacturing programs and what the demands are. So first line supervisors of production workers. Again, the median earnings about 69,000, annual openings about 1,400. So not as great as teachers, the elementary teachers, but it gives you kind of a benchmark to look at. Machinist, about close to 1,000 annual openings a year, and median annual earnings of 54,000. Now, that's about $26 an hour. That actually might be kind of low. We're placing people out of our programs in the machining programs. I would say $25 is probably a pretty reasonable starting point for a lot of them. Not everyone, but a lot of them. And there's some of them we're placing into positions at $30 to $35 an hour. So that's about $70,000, $75,000 a year to start off with once they have a 2-year degree. So we've had, again, some students start off at $35 an hour. One of them was 19 years old, who had dropped out of school to have a child and came back to the machining program in the community college and started at 19, making about $70,000. And then with overtime, which, as you know, the teachers and counselors don't get, but in the manufacturing world, you will get overtime. There's a number of people that are making up to $100,000 with the overtime that they have. Okay, and this is with full benefits as well. Most manufacturing jobs are going to have full benefits. Electronic engineering techs, about $30 an hour or so at 64,000. Welders, a little lower, but again, there's going to be a range in that based on your skill levels. And then industrial machinery mechanics, again, at that about $35 an hour range. And that's, again, those are skilled positions and very much needed. So are people still hiring? Obviously we don't know what's going to happen. It's things are uncertain, but in the past couple days, actually in the past, few days, I've been getting people reaching out to me about jobs. So this is from a food manufacturer in Hayward, Wiseman Foods. And so they're seeing an increased demands for their food and looking for maintenance mechanics and techs. These are not, assembly line jobs. These are people that have high skills, computer skills, machining skills, troubleshooting skills. And so, they're hiring those people as well. Here's another example of what we have. Benchmark, which has factories in Concord and Fremont, are hiring machinists, welders, engineers, precision assemblers, and they're actually in such demand that they're offering $1,000 sign-on bonuses. So we got this yesterday. I got this request from the folks at Benchmark. So really high demand. And there's hundreds of thousands of manufacturing workers in the Bay Area. So in the skilled trade side. And so there's definitely going to, continue to be demand, and they're going to be the people that are maintaining and making sure we have the equipment to keep these production lines in order. One of the things with the COVID crisis is that there's a couple of things. One is there's actually a recognition for manufacturers that we need to have more of our manufacturing close by. With the disruption in supply chains, and especially with medical, manufacturers. The need to make sure they have the ability to manufacture things close by is becoming more important. So we expect to actually see more onshoring of stuff that was overseas. It may not be a huge amount, but it's certainly going to be some. And I think people who might have thought about moving offshore are even going to, again, start to second guess that and keep stuff online. In addition, as companies look at how you do social distancing and how you spread out your lines, they're probably going to start implementing more automation, which is going to require those skilled workers to maintain and build that automation. So I expect that we will see, kind of strong demand in those areas continue. Okay. So I wanted to just point out one thing is that I have a website. It's called BayAreaManufacturingCareers.com, which you can gather a lot of different information. Can you see the website now? You can. Okay, you can just switch over. Good. So this is my website, and I wanted to point it out to you because I think there's some things that you might be interested in seeing if you're interested in telling your students, your other teachers, your administration about manufacturing. First, this is the 28 colleges in the Bay Area that all of us regional directors service and work with, everyone from Monterey up to Santa Rosa, out to Los Medanos out in Pittsburgh. But this website for manufacturing has a way for you to go and look by careers. So if you have students that are interested in computer-aided design, they can, come here and look, and they can click through, and it will take them to that page about, CAD work at De Anza. Again, you can look at all the different manufacturing careers and see which colleges are offering them. On the flip side, if you have a college nearby and want to see what they offer in manufacturing, I have it broken out by college as well. So you can go to your closest college, click through and see what programs they offer. One of the things you might be interested in is signing up for yourself. You can kind of click through and look at job postings as well. Let's go to the newsletter though. This might be of interest. You can sign up for job postings to see. I will send out job postings that I receive from manufacturers. You just kind of get a sense and feel for what is out there and how much these jobs are paying and what the demand is. So if you want to go there, you can sign up. It takes 30 seconds to sign up. You can also sign up as an educator, where I'll send out information about, I would send out information about grants or summer programs or different things, open houses that educators might be interested in around manufacturing. And then there's we just started one, Women in Manufacturing Skilled Trades, which is focused on how do we get more young women into manufacturing. And then I have one for manufacturers in general interest as well. So feel free to go there. And if you want to, you can go through and you can actually see the previous job postings or postings that I've sent out, and kind of just take a browse through those to see what types of jobs are out there and what we're seeing there. All right, a couple other things, then I'll open it up for questions. There's a resource page. So this is just, reports about manufacturing, some fun stuff about manufacturing, assistance for teachers. I talked to you about the career information and things like that. You can go here to kind of have videos on it. If you want to know what other programs in the Bay Area are offering manufacturing, maybe you have a teacher at your school that teaches a manufacturing course. I have a website with a map that shows all the different programs. And it's not just by manufacturing. You can actually look at others as well. You can look at hospitality or ag. So this one is not just limited to manufacturing, but this shows you all the different programs in the area. In addition, there's actually a spreadsheet of that data as well. So it might make it a little easier to, go through and look. And again, it's not just for manufacturing, it's for all the trades. So you can actually go through and search on that as well. And then I guess I have some videos of different things. This is a nice little video talking about aerospace manufacturing. So, various things like that. The video that I just showed you is there. Some things about the benefits of attending community colleges versus having a four-year degree is there. So just a range of different resources. And finally, on this website, there's some discussion forums about online learning. It's focused on skilled trades, but some of it might be useful in general about different online resources that teachers can use for online learning. Used to list the summer programs. Unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be a lot of summer programs happening this year. There might be some online ones, but I'll try to update this, that colleges are offering apprenticeships. There's a calendar. Every Thursday, I've been offering a webinar on teaching skilled trades online. So you can go to this calendar and see all the Zoom info on how to get to that. And then one last thing on this, there is a search. And it doesn't have to be limited to manufacturing, but if you want to search all 28 community college websites for a particular topic, let's say you wanted, I'll just go cross sector here. I say you wanted to search health, you know, or radiation technology. This website limits it to just the 28 community colleges in the Bay Area. So you can go through that and see that, you know, Foothill has something, Cabrillo has something, and, you know, I love you to go search on manufacturing things, but this will just cover all the different Bay Area community college websites. All right.
Great. So thank you, Mark. There's quite a few questions coming up centered around, because we're focusing on this audience with special education students who have a disability and different levels of reading and writing and so forth. There was a question about what are the different programs available for students of different academic levels. And this may also, Sharon may also be able to talk about this in terms of what the community colleges offer for students with IEPs or disabilities. Some of these programs may be too high academically for some of our students who are have more cognitive or academic barriers to their learning.
No, and yeah, I definitely understand that. I mean, you're obviously going to have a range. I mean, we've had a range of different students with different abilities. We've actually had a blind. I know this may not be necessarily fitting to what you work with, but we had a blind student, you know, was partially blind taking machining and was able to do that. There are programs, and we've been trying to get one in the Bay Area for autistic students to do CNC machining. And there's one down in the Southern California that's been very successful, and we've looked at doing that up here, and we hope to get it going one day. But you know, we'd hope to do it this year, but I don't think we're going to be able to do it with what's been going on. So certainly there are careers like that can be, you know, with autistic students, but also with, you know, various learners. I mean, there are some students that might not be as good at, you know, academic learning, but might be more hands-on. You know, some of these do require higher math skills. Some of the programs not so as much. So if you're going into wood technology, you know, some math skills are useful, but the hands-on aspect of it is more straightforward as far as, you know, that tactile and you know, hands-on type learning that might be there. So I think there's a range of different abilities for some of the programs, but this is the skilled trades programs do take a certain level of, you know, capability intellectually. I mean, a lot of them do require math, and so there might be some jobs there are other jobs out there that may not require as much math and academic ability that can be in manufacturing as well. So there are a range.
There was also a question about, do you ever get information in Santa Cruz and Watsonville areas for manufacturing?
I do. I'll be honest with you, I don't get as much from down there. I mean, it's just a little more spread out, but we certainly have companies down there that I work with and I've reached out with. There's Joby Aviation has been looking at putting a facility down there that they make autonomous or pilotless planes, and they're hoping to start building down there in the next, you know, couple of years. And so certainly we do work with them in that area.
Also, people are asking if you can put the link to your website in the chat box. They can copy and paste or if it's on the notes.
It is, but I will post it there as well after I get off. But it's easy to remember: BayAreaManufacturingCareers.com. So,
Thank
but
you.
I will post it as well.
Thank you. And Jana, we had a question. Will people have access to all of these PowerPoints in this webinar?
Yeah, so what I did, because I didn't want to mess anything up, was I made a copy of the PowerPoint already, and I put it into the group that shares this Google folder. So our best practices group, it's already in there as a copy of this presentation. But yeah, if you please provide your email addresses in the chat, and we'll make sure to email it out to everybody after the presentation. I just didn't want to, because it wasn't my information, so I didn't want to mess anything up or give editing rights. I didn't know to mess it up. So yeah.
And the recorded, this recorded webinar will be available as soon as I figure out the technological parts on the CTE webpage, and the Santa Clara County Office is a resource for instructors, parents, students also. But I have to figure out how to do that, so.
There was one question, the educational programs that for these I did mention briefly, but it's about 1 to 2 years. So, you know, there's typically a year is the shortest for these types of manufacturing programs.
Awesome. Are there any more questions for Mark? Again, if you have questions as we go through the PowerPoints, please add them on the chat and we will get to them as soon as possible. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mark. That was
Thank you.
fantastic.
Please feel free to reach out to me directly.
Great. Okay, so we are moving on to Audrey. And Audrey, would you like to share your screen, or would you like me to do your slides?
You can do the slides.
Okay. Let me share my screen.
Great. So, hi, everybody. My name is Audrey Liebedor. And first off, just a thank you to Jana and Joelle, Nanette, and Sharon for putting this together, and for all of you for sharing your time with us this morning so that we can tell you a little bit about our program. My sector that I represent is retail, hospitality, and tourism. Let's go to the next slide, Jana, just to get started. And you can actually forward it one more. So first, I want to address the elephant in the room with regards to retail, hospitality, and tourism. And that is that given our health crises, my sector has been hit harder than any of the other sectors. It was the first to be impacted. It continues to be impacted, and it's probably going to be the last to reopen. So that begs the question, why in the world would you ever want to pipeline your students into a job that has to do with retail, hospitality, and tourism? And it's really quite obvious when you get to know your students, you get to sit down and talk to them and find out what their calling is, that they have a nurturing soul, that they have an emotional intelligence that's intact and that's willing to be developed further. They're not afraid of change. They're looking for adventure. These are the reasons that people really like going into the retail, hospitality, and tourism fields. You can see here, we just wrote down a few things to give a snapshot of the benefits of being part of the retail, hospitality, and tourism sector. Next slide, please, Jana. With regards to the path, what can they do if they decide to go into any of these fields? I've laid out a few different job descriptions. The retail, hospitality, and tourism sectors are so much more robust than just simply working in a restaurant or in a hotel or at the Gap. For example, let me give you two stories about two students that I've worked with recently. Before I took this job, I had the privilege of helping students to determine their paths and where they were going to go. And I did this by just really getting to sit with the student and asking them very direct questions and trying to take out the influence of the parent, the guardian, anything like that, to really drill down and figure out what is it that these students really want to get out of life, at least at this point in their life, and what they know about life. And as a result, a couple of years ago, I met with one young lady straight out of high school, and all she knew is that she wanted to get into the retail field. Her name's Cece. But her parents were both in real estate, and they loved their careers in real estate, so they really pushed her into that area. She tried to do it, and just it wasn't her thing. But she did try for about 2 years. Then she came back and talked to me again, and we talked about the different retail programs, because what she really liked is clothing. She really liked interacting with people. So she went to a community college, got some retail classes under her belt, got a job with Gap Retail, which turned into then a job with Restoration Hardware Retail, which now has turned into a Restoration Hardware Management job. And she is in charge of the floor sites for the new Restoration Hardware corporate entity that's in Corte Madera, which is one of their flagship shops now. She's just barely 30 years old and is just, really moving up on the ladder there. But it shows you that she walked away from what she felt was going to be a solid career with her parents. And that was a known entity. That would have been a good path for her to go if you just looked at the material side of things, but she knew it wasn't her path and she walked away from it. The hospitality side, I think you're all very well aware of the different jobs that people can do into it. The very last one I mentioned there, you can see facilities management. I have that listed there, and my colleague Carlos, I'm sure, is going to talk about that at one point. Carlos and I are working on providing a cross-sector certificate for hospitality and facility management students so that they can expand what they're wanting to do within the hospitality industry. So to the point of, I think it was Zineda, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, with the level of your students for some of your classes, certainly they can get into the hospitality industry at a lower level. But if we just give them 1 or 2 more classes in the facility management side of things, all of a sudden it opens up a lot more opportunities for them. So that's something to consider. Lastly, if you look at the tourism side of things, at the very last spot, I mentioned private yacht personnel. I put that there because I have another student that I worked with. His name's Dylan. His family was in banking. That's the direction he thought he was going to go into. Started it after taking, a number of classes, getting his AA in business at the community college level. Absolutely hated it. Came back, talked to me. I found out he loved cooking, took a few culinary arts classes, ended up in Florida working on a yacht in their kitchen, found out that there's so many people that want those jobs that his chances of really moving up the ladder in that area were not good. But he decided that being on a yacht is what he wanted to do. He ended up taking some engineering classes and now is an engineer on a 100-foot private yacht, loving life. And who knew that that's where his path was going to go if he would have, it wouldn't have gone that way if he was in banking. All right, next slide, please. Hospitality, a short video just from a student's perspective at Mission College. And you'll have to unmute.
The reason I chose hospitality management was my father. He was a hotel manager for almost 15 years when he was in Vietnam. I really like to be the one like him. So I always follow everything that I can have this shining career as him used to do. And the other things is I really love cooking. In hospitality management program, you have to get used to how the system of the restaurant works, how the industry goes on. And you can get many opportunities to work. You can have the catering job, maybe the part-time job, but also be like on the sous chef over there. So they are great opportunity for you. I got many different recommendations, and they all recommend Mission College. They have the best kitchen and the best education system for that major. So I think, okay, I will go for that. And until right now, I think I got the right choice.
All right, next slide, please. All right, over in your area, Mission College, there is a degree track, hospitality management, as well as 2 different certificates that your students can get over there. You are incredibly fortunate to have Mission College as your hospitality school. It is amazing over there. And if you'd like a tour for your students, let me know. I would love to take you over there. The faculty champions over there are, God, so absolutely amazing. I'm blown away by what they do over there. Next slide. Okay, over at West Valley College, there is a pretty amazing fashion design program. A short video, please.
Hello, I'm Sally Aiken, a faculty member in the Fashion Design and Apparel Technology Department here at West Valley College. I'm excited to tell you about our comprehensive fashion program and hope you join our many graduates who have found rewarding and creative careers in the fashion industry as designers, assistant designers, technical designers, production coordinators, merchandisers, pattern makers, and more. From its inception in 1984, our program has provided industry standard training in both apparel design and production. Our strong industry focus ensures you will be learning the most up-to-date information, methods, techniques used throughout the global apparel design and manufacturing system. Our program includes both traditional and computer-aided design and apparel production methods. You will learn computer-aided design for apparel and textiles, the latest in computer-integrated manufacturing, and through our partnership with Gerber Technology, the world leader in computer systems for apparel, you have the opportunity to learn the computer pattern design and production in a state-of-the-art facility. Our program includes certificate and AS degree options and offers 2 career paths in production and in design. Through a core set of courses in both design and production, you can explore your aptitude in all areas before making a final career choice. If you're ready to learn more, check out our department course offerings.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Over at West Valley College, I did list, there we go. I did list the degree track and the certificate programs. Again, for your students, you know, you're probably looking at the certificate programs, and that's a great get their foot in the doors and see if it is for them. Next slide, please. We're not going to play that video, but I did put it there just so that you could show your students. But again, another area of interest that has a great program over at West Valley is interior design. Next slide. Again, I've listed the degree track and the certificates that they can get. The certificates are as little as 1 semester to a full year. And then, of course, the degree track is a 2-year. Next slide, please. I'd love for you to take a screenshot of this saying by Viktor Frankl. The reason I put it here is I think it's just really important that we understand when people talk about what their meaning in life is, that I just love it, that it's not something you just stumble across. You know, it's something that you find, you nurture within yourself. You figure it out over time and over whatever experience life has brought to you so far. And we are in the unique position that we possibly can mentor students on the direction that they need to go. And we have to be very cognizant of the fact that we have to listen with very open ears to hear what it is that they're interested in, and not to negate a position because possibly it's not a high earning position, because who knows what they can do if they get into a position at a lower wage. The reality is that those students who get into a position at a lower wage, if they're a go-getter, they are going to end up being just fine. So we have to just really think about the actual student. And, you know, again, for myself personally, I started out, how much time do I have? 3 more minutes, Jana? Okay. I started out in a career based on safety, and I ended up getting an amazing job that was high wage. People were envious of this job. I hated it. It did not feed anything in my soul. In fact, to this day, I do not even list it on my resume, even though it kind of looks good, because it was not who I am or who I was at that time or who I am. It took me trying to figure out by, looking at, what is it that I want to get out of life? What is it that I want to do with other people? How do I want to engage with other people to figure out the track that I'm on now? The job I have now is still in retail, hospitality, tourism, and that's the track I ultimately went down and path. And it's a very strange path to get here. But ultimately, this is a great job that I have, and it really is in hospitality still. So again, I just really want to encourage each of you to listen and have those conversations with your student and help them find the right job for them. I heard something the other day that's kind of stuck with me, that listen and silent have the same letters in them, just mixed around. And I think that's something that we can really think about. Career Ready California, if you could just pop on that just real quick. It's a link to our website. And the only thing that I'd like to show you on here, just because of time, is if you could click on the student tab at the top, yes. And then scroll down to where it says programs. Up, right there, yes. Yes.
Thank you.
And then scroll down just a bit.
Thank you.
A little more, and see where it says Bay Area region? Click on that. And if you scroll down just past my little bio there, I have listed all of the colleges in the Bay Area that have some program having to do with retail, hospitality, or tourism. So if your students don't want to stay just within your 2 colleges that you typically would love to pipeline them to, you can look here and say, look, you can still stay close to home, but you have all of these other colleges that you can go to that have programs within RHT. All right, I think I'm at 11:10. There we go. I better stop. Thank you guys so much for giving me some of your time, and I'd love to talk with you further, help you get tours any place you'd like to get tours at. Have me come talk to your students, anything you'd like.
Thank you, Aubrey. Any questions that you have for Aubrey? I know there's a question about a copy of presentation. We will make the slides into PDFs and be able to share it with you so that you can utilize it in your classroom. There's a question for Mark. How can we connect about the ambassador info to connect current high school students to the manufacturing careers?
I don't know if he's still here.
He may have left, so we'll have a copy of the questions and try to get that information to you.
And what we're hoping to do with these presentations, like these are just snapshots of what we would ultimately like to have available for students and teach, as educators in their classrooms, so we want to make these really applicable for students to use and for educators to use with your students. Are there any questions for Aubrey? Audrey, sorry. Oh my God.
Is there an outreach person for students to talk to directly?
That would be me. Yeah, happy to do it.
Awesome. Well, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. We are at 11:12. So Carlos, if you're ready, we will go ahead and start.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone, and great presentation, Audrey. I love her passion, and there's a lot of crossover in several of our sectors, and especially with the retail, hospitality, and tourism, with the energy, construction, utilities, and what we're working on, and some of the creative programs. But I'm going to go through this. I'll pick different parts of the presentation that are, after listening to several of the great presentations, I want to, leave you with the important takeaways from what this, career can provide to students. I was a community college graduate, got into a career early in my life. I didn't know what I wanted to do. My father steered me in this direction. Got into air conditioning, refrigeration. From there, I've been able to build and expand and just start my own business. It's been great. I've been able to give back to in volunteering and teaching and doing what I'm doing now with the community colleges. And it is really a great way to touch individuals' lives in their careers, in how they can provide for their families and have a lifelong occupation. So as I mentioned, I'm the regional director in the energy construction and utility sector in the Bay Area, but I also represent a statewide initiative with the FM Talent Pipeline Training Program. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I want to start by saying, first of all, I heard some of the other presenters saying about, are they hiring and what the status of the career in the industry is. I'm very happy to say right now, and I have my pulse on industry and businesses right now, that the energy construction utility sector is very, very strong. Everybody is working, and not only is it recession proof, it's pandemic proof. Buildings are still open. The lights still need to be on. Things need to be repaired. Things need to be built. And we're very fortunate, very, very fortunate. I've been very busy over the course of, the last couple of months, and just positioning how we can help this profession, this industry, and the schools and students really be aware of the great career opportunities in all of these three different areas of the sector. Next slide, please. So where are some of the jobs? They're all over the place. Really, when you think of energy construction and utility, and it's so broad, I'll just touch upon the 4 or 5 top programs within the community colleges, then I'll touch upon another profession and trade and career pathway for students that we're really starting to spend a lot of time on. There are jobs in the built environment everywhere, all over the world. Arenas, offices, hospitals. Somebody needs to take care of the hospitals where everybody works and all the sick people are. Venues, automotive and manufacturing plants. While the manufacturing people are putting out products, there needs to be someone to take care of the facility itself. So that's very broad, and you can go into some of the areas that I'm going to talk about next. Next slide, please. So here are some of the different choices and jobs in energy, construction, utility. These are the top areas: construction, specialty trade, construction of buildings, heavy civil engineering, utilities, and some of the areas, of course, if you're fortunate enough to get into a government facilities or trade position, you have a lifetime, more than likely, position within those organizations. And there are a lot of other private sector jobs that are still hiring because of the shortages of these skilled workers. Next slide. These are questions I always like to ask the students because, what do you like working with people, first of all? If you're in this type of trade or profession, you need to be able to work with people. Do you like to work inside or outside? You have really your pick of being inside of a building or outside. Do you like working on projects, one project, several projects? This career will challenge you in many different ways. It's not only a job with working with your hands, it's working with your mind. Do you like to travel? I've been fortunate enough in my business in the last 10 years plus where I've traveled all over the world. I've been to places where I've only seen on National Geographic, and it's been very rewarding for me. And there's always this component of wanting to give back, in the energy and sustainability area career pathway. You want to save the world. You want to reduce energy. You want to reduce water. You want to make the planet a cleaner, more sustainable place to live in. Well, you can do that. Next slide. Next slide. here are the top 4 programs within our ECU sector, and I'll break it down to wages and some of the jobs that are available. Next slide. First program, electrical. Electricians make a ton of money. There's a 4 to 5 year apprenticeship program. Once you get in, that's on the union environment. You are making high union wages. And while the job openings is a little deceptive here, these are for the high paying union jobs that are in certain areas. And these are probably a little bit lagging behind by a year. But in the non-union environment, which may not reflect these numbers, which are still very high and competitive jobs, there are a lot of those jobs also. And within the electrical field, you could be on low voltage, high voltage, control wiring, and a number of different specialties. Next slide, please. Construction craft technology. Well, you look at the annual earnings, that's on average mid-range of the $50,000. The construction craft technology incorporates a lot of different trades. So you're taking, you know, from laborers to finished carpenters to guys that install sheetrock and putting those all into one. Next slide, please. Pipe fitters and plumbers and steam fitters. We all know who these individuals are. They're the ones that in the middle of the night, we got a leak or a flood or a toilet or a major issue with piping, we call them. And high paying, high demand. And although there are not a lot of openings because a lot of individuals keep these jobs for a lifetime, these are more towards the union environments. In the non-union environments, the amount is as much or higher. Next slide. That's the last slide. Environmental controls technology. This is one of the fastest growing areas, I believe, within the energy construction utility trades, because in every building, in the built environment, all of these buildings have controls in them. They're becoming smart. They need to be either managed on site or remotely. And so there's a pipe that goes into the building that connects with every single device. And now these buildings are becoming smarter. They're becoming to where you can control and operate them over your cell phone. So a lot of people are becoming more attracted into this, and with the emergence of smart devices, faster processing, and cheaper controls and technology, buildings are becoming a lot smarter. So we need people to be able to install, maintain, and troubleshoot and control these environments. Next slide, please. I'm going to go through this. This is available. These next 2 slides just tells you where the colleges are and what gives you a little more detail about the programs. I could spend a half an hour or more on the specific programs, but I want to give you a high level overview. So if you have any questions, we can talk later. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Oh, wait, stay on this slide. I'm sorry. Let me talk about that last slide. Because there's so many different training programs within this sector, you know, programs and training can be anything from 6 months from a certificate of completion with facilities management or other type of technical training to a more longer technical apprenticeship program from 2 to 5 years. There's HVAC programs, there's water and waste, there's a number of different programs that are available throughout the Bay Area. And we're starting these career exploration awareness training for K through 12. I've been working with Sharon and a number of different individuals at the Office of Education, like in Alameda, where we're getting them introduced and aware of some of these skilled trades. And as we find out and see, people are interested in them. I'll give you a quick story where my son is at the College of San Diego Mason. He was going to become a dietitian, or he's still thinking about it. Now, since COVID, you know, being stay at home, he calls me up the other day and says, "Hey, Dad, you know, I'm kind of interested about this HVAC and electrical thing. You know, can you give me some information on it?" And last week when I gave a webinar at one of the Office of Education Awareness webinar, he was the first one on the webinar. So that was really funny. Next slide, please. And Jana, if you'd be so kind to play this video. It's a short video.
Wait, was that the video?
No, it was in the chat. I put the link in there.
I got it.
Thank you.
What brought me to College of San Mateo is the facility management program and the project management program. Not only is it a booming field, but there's so many job prospects in the Bay Area.
I've always been interested in the built environment, primarily through a sustainability lens. A vast majority of our world is built already, and we need people to manage those buildings, otherwise they're going to fall apart. And those buildings span across every industry, from healthcare to higher ed to different areas of the private sector. I was a facility manager at Stanford University. I was in my first year on the job and was just looking for professional development. CSM was one of the only colleges that I found that offered the facility management course. I wasn't necessarily looking for a big program, but I wanted to take the class.
I am a student at the College of San Mateo doing project management as well as facilities management. I've been attending school part-time as I work full-time, and I've been doing my classes in the evening, taking roughly 2 classes per semester. And I had never worked in anything that had to do with construction or facilities management, and it opened so many doors where I was able to see how buildings were being built, how they're maintaining them, the technology that's used in them.
The current flow of facility managers are retiring. And not only that, all the buildings now being built are technologically way more advanced. They need the next generation of facility managers to be trained on how to run buildings and facilities using the latest technology. With project management, you can go into pretty much any industry you want. Every industry needs facility managers to manage the buildings.
What facility management taught me was to talk to different types of folks with different types of backgrounds and expertise. The contacts that I was able to make through the course led me to the job I currently have right now.
We've been encouraged to participate in the IFMA, International Facilities Management Association, and it opens up opportunities for us to network and learn of different companies that are hiring. I definitely encourage people that have to work full-time, that are looking to change their careers or add on to their education, return to school and come to College of San Mateo because there's so many opportunities there.
Great, thank you, Jana. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about facilities management, really quickly, and then I'll open up to questions. So next slide. Again, facilities management touches every part of the built environment. It's a $1 trillion global industry. As you can see, it was 5% of our economy. I still think it's probably higher now since there's been some adjustments. And there are over 25 million FM practitioners worldwide. Next slide. What we've done is we've tried to attract different students at the colleges that are undecided. For example, undecided business administration students that don't know where they want to go. We expose them to a 2-certificate Essentials of Facility Management course that we have launched at 4 different colleges now, and we're working with Audrey to integrate within the retail hospitality. Those students that don't know exactly where they want to go, we get them in touch with one of the largest industry advisory partners, the International Facilities Management Association. And that's a network of professionals throughout California, different chapters, 11 different chapters, the who's who's of companies like Google, Facebook, large real estate companies. And we get them in front of them, get them jobs, and get them internships. Next slide, please. I'm going to close here really quickly because I have a little more time, but getting to the K through 12 connection and link, we have a package and an awareness framework in place to where we have what was called, and one of the largest facility management companies in the world, Sodexo, at their cost, put together what's called a FM Ambassador Toolkit. And we can tailor that Ambassador Toolkit to attract students in a lot of different categories that are disadvantaged, women, that are veterans, you name it. But we have one specifically for high schools that I'm giving right now. I've given 3 of them so far, that we can attract or get students interested, to plant that seed about what a career in facilities management is, and that just starts the process there. You know, we're competing against four-year colleges and those really sexy careers, and once we let them know about what a facilities manager is and the broad areas you can go into, it really gets them to be thinking, yeah, I like this. Next slide. I should be done in a minute, within a minute. Lastly, as the slide presentation showed, there are more women than there are men. I'm sorry, there are more men than there are women in this profession, and a lot of individuals are leaving the profession. So we're really focusing on getting women into this, more women into this profession, as you can see by the targeted video we created, and we're starting to see the results of that. Next slide. Next slide. Lastly, as I mentioned, you know, this is an essential job. I don't think anyone needs to tell us how essential it is. We don't need a mandate from the federal government to tell us the buildings need to be maintained, electricity needs to be running, the lights need to be on, water needs to be flowing. And there's a lot of opportunities for a lot of individuals. And if, when you get a chance, our website below, that ECUsector.com, Bay Area, has great information and videos. And if you need any information or questions, please reach out to me. And thank you for the opportunity to present today.
Thank you, Carlos. We have quite a few questions. Let's start with the first set of questions, was talking about, is there a way to do, because we're on this COVID-19 distance learning, virtual. We're looking a lot at virtual opportunities, virtual work-based learning opportunities, whether it is actually doing like a virtual job shadow. There are platforms the county office is looking at for this, but it's more engaging for students to see something that is regional and in their sort of neighborhood. And this kind of goes out to all of our regional directors. It's something that I know Nanette and Sharon and I have talked about, is that as students are exploring these different career pathways, are there opportunities from the community colleges to offer these virtual opportunities?
We're exploring that now. We're putting several things together. Two things on the educational side, because there are so many hands-on types of labs, it's really hard to teach high voltage, or even, you know, in several of our sectors, certain types of learning virtually. But what we can, we are, and we're pushing the envelope on those that we thought we couldn't, that we are, like certain types of trades, hands-on types of learning. As far as the shadowing and the mentoring, there are some major companies out there, large Fortune 500 international companies, that are in alignment with what we're talking about, and they're putting together focus groups right now just discussing it. So I think on a local basis, working with the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, I had a call with them today, they would be up for, along with their members, if we could come up with a framework on a structure of providing, you know, connecting students with employers for these. There's a lot of discussion about that, and I think you'll see some pilot programs emerging and being available here very, very quickly.
And I just want to shout out to at least Santa Clara County educators that we did a grant for K-12 SWP. We are going to be partnering with Earn and Learn, which is a work-based learning platform. They're well known in the East Bay. You might have heard of them, Carlos. But anyhow, this is going to allow for connections of students to employers based on availability of the different types of work-based learning. Mm-hmm. Question that came up was, how does this connect to the trade unions? And is there a connection, or is it separate, or do they work coincide with each other? How does that work?
It's all part of one big family, if you want to say that. You have the union programs, you know, like at Foothill and other colleges, that very focused, very impacted, very, you know, they're all systems go with them. They're running great. And then there's these other programs that are outside of the union, that the problem we have with these other programs and the industry is that these positions are in such high demand, they're being pulled from these programs before they're finished, and they're being paid high wages. So we're working with a lot of industry groups right now, letting them, you know, because they know that when they get these employees, that they're still missing some skills, so that then they have to either go back or retrain them on the job. So That's changing a little bit. So it's all one big group and we're just slicing it in every category. But I hope that kind of answers your question.
How are we doing for time, Jana?
3 more minutes.
Okay.
There's another question about, since we're again the focus of the audience here are educators in special education, are there programs that have accommodations for students with disabilities?
I think we could be very creative because now that we're in an environment of distance, I think on the energy analytics and assessments, I think we could create some customized programs to where we can make those available. It's just we need the focus to do that right now. And as you can see, some of the other programs are kind of surfacing to the top as far as the need. But you know, if this could be a RJV or something with the resources and the funding to say, let's build this one program, it's just a matter of identifying it and doing it. But yes, it can be done.
So is there an internship pathway through the programs that are offered in your sector?
There are a lot of different internship types through the FM pipeline training program. Depending upon the employer, you know, that's a different type of a commitment. But we've had a great program at Chaffey College for the past couple of years to where through some of their member industry partners, they provided internships to their students.
And I think that was most of our call. What's the difference between facilities management and project management, or is it the same thing?
No, they're all different. There are 11 core competencies in facilities management, and they include everything from financing, communications, human resources, project management. There, you know, there's a lot of different layers of them that you can specialize in, and then you get under the big generalization of facilities management. So you can come from different career pathways to get into facilities management. And one of those too is in the trades, being like a director of facilities. You could be having HVAC or construction background, and then you get into it.
Great. Carlos?
Yeah, thank you so much. That was great.
You're welcome.
I'm just thrilled with all the information that we're getting right now. My head's like exploding. Yeah, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Okay, so we are right on time. And Josie, you are up. Would you like to share your screen, or do you want me to present?
Could you please do the screen?
Okay, here we go.
Hi, everybody. I'm very happy to be here with you and share what I know about life sciences and biotechnology. My name is Josie Sedi, and I am the regional director for this sector. Next slide, please. So why would a student want to consider a career in biotechnology? Well, if the student likes science, then I would say that they have a very good chance to be able to work in an industry that here in the Bay Area is so big and is so successful and is growing. If anything, it is growing now. So here the Bay Area has the largest life science cluster in the world. That's something that is just followed by San Diego. There is a cluster there, and then Boston has another cluster. I would say Boston is the second largest. So we have about 1,000, perhaps more, firms that do biotechnology. They employ 70,000 workers here in the Bay Area, which is 24% of the California biomedical industry. As you know, through this field, we produce drugs, and there are about 1,500 drugs statewide that are being developed or produced right now in early stages. So then, in terms of the cluster receiving venture capital, this is the largest cluster in the Bay Area that receives venture capital. And that is very important for the reason that if you're getting capital to grow your industry, your company, or if you are opening a startup, you are promoting innovation. So you have the assurance here in the Bay Area that you have a lot of innovative people that are creating new things. So we also have world-class research institutions. These institutions are either at the academic establishment, or they also are found as private institutes or public institutes of research. Here in the Bay Area, we have a lot of grants that come from the National Institute of Health. And actually, California has the most money invested from those grants, which means California is heading innovation in terms of pharma and in terms of biotechnology. So right now, you heard a lot of names coming out there in the news regarding companies that are making therapies and are working at finding a vaccine for COVID-19. The Bay Area is one of the first ones to jump in the wagon and start this trend. I have heard about several companies with which I have a lot of interaction. One is Virt Biotechnology, that is developing a vaccine. Another one is Twist Bioscience, that is making antibodies. Actually, last night I was in a webinar with the Twist Biosciences CEO and their VP of Human Resources. And they were trying to emphasize that they have a lot of jobs openings, that they need people so that they can make more of the antibodies with proprietary technology that they need so that they can provide these to research companies and institutes that are making therapies for COVID-19. So Gilead, you have heard that company is one of the largest here. Genentech, which is owned by Roche. Roche is the largest company in the world in terms of biotech. Roche is one of the ones too here in the Bay Area that is making testing for COVID-19. So there are many, many companies here that are working on that. The industry is doing very well again, and they are hiring. And I would recommend students to consider if a shot at it, give it a shot if you really love science. Next slide, please. So the labor market information that I have here is a little bit out of date. However, we are doing a study right now with the Centers of Excellence, which is going to be ready in the fall. However, pretty much this shows the median annual earnings of 55,553, and with annual openings of 470 openings per year. Last night in the webinar that I was telling you about, I heard that the salaries for a person with a degree in biotechnology, an AS degree, or a certificate with some experience, will start anywhere in the range of $18 to $25 an hour. However, that has been increasing, and I would say that the range is more accurate at starting at $21 an hour and up. Next slide, please. So there are many sectors, subsectors within the biotechnology industry. And as you can see, we have different areas where students could eventually will drift into these areas. And that is genomics, the world of diagnosis, where you would make tools for diagnosing diseases, biotech research, therapeutics, that's where you make the drugs, you develop them and make them, pharmaceuticals, same thing, but a little bit different, agricultural biotech, biofuels, industrial biotech, for example, enzymes that you use in products are made through industrial biotechnology companies, such as, say, Tide, for example, the soap that you use to wash your clothes. It has enzymes, and those enzymes are made through biotechnology. Medical devices. Next slide, please. So a student would be concerned about what skills should he or she be exposed to. And there is a gamut of skills that they learn in a community college while they are training in biotechnology. And you may see here in this a chart, which is actually a poster that I provide to schools, high schools. You would see here things like quality control. You would see here things like PCR. It's a technique that you may see it mentioned every time they talk about COVID-19 and the testing. You would see ELISA, another test that they learn in school, which is right now being used to check for antibodies. We talk about good manufacturing practices. We talk about immunoassays, things that are related to immunology and microbiology. There are a lot of things that they learn in school that are very current, and you could talk to your students about it. And in this poster, also in small print, you would see names of different kinds of jobs. Next slide, please. So what is the pathway for a student that is interested? So from high school, I would suggest that they, obviously, that they go to a community college and get a certificate if they need to work right away. Actually, the certificate or an AS degree, either way, there are opportunities for internships. And also there is a program that we offer at the colleges, which is a work-based learning program that we call Bioscope, where the students make educational products that are used in the laboratory practices when they are studying biotech. And those products are being used at high schools, as well as colleges, obviously. So then the next thing is, after they complete a community college degree, they can go to Solano College. Solano College is in the East Bay, and it's the only college here in Northern California that offers a bachelor's degree in science in biomanufacturing. Solano College happens to be located right across the street from Genentech, from a major biomanufacturing plant. So it is very good for the students that go there, and eventually they end up at Genentech, or they end up at the Biomarine. You may have heard that name. They end up in many, many companies. Right now, I have a lot of requests from several companies that are building biomanufacturing here in the Bay Area. And they're expanding, and they're hiring our students. And we'll be very interested as soon as they complete their expansions to hire our students. So I am really thrilled about that. Since you know that most biomanufacturing is outsourced to China and India and other countries. So I really love the idea that and the prospect that is happening now, and that we will have pretty soon with many companies. So either that, or they go to Solano, or they go to a CSU or a UC. Things don't transfer straight forward to a CSU or UC. Usually our degrees are taken as units of elective categories instead of one by one. So then either that, or they go to an industry job. Next slide, please. So here in the cost of college, I wanted to show you how an education at a community college may cost $2,760 for the time they are there. And if they transfer to Solano College, they would pay additional $6,240 plus $552 of electives, making their education for a bachelor's degree very economical, $10,000. Next slide, please. And here is a list of degrees and certificates. Sorry, it doesn't look very good. Now I see. For all the colleges and who provides what at each college. Next slide. And if you have any questions, or if you want to contact me for other reasons, I'm very happy to answer at this email or at my phone number. And here is the website that has all kinds of resources for you to help your students.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Joelle, do we have any questions?
I don't see any.
I wanted to say, since this is also, I heard people asking questions about the students that are disabled, how they fare in these classes and all of that. And I wanted to tell you that one of the colleges, Ohlone College, has a deaf studies program. And we have had biotechnology students that are deaf. On the other hand, I wanted to tell you that if you have students with other disabilities, any disability, there are companies that list in their website statements where they say that they are welcoming any disabilities in their workplace, and that they will accommodate these people properly.
There was a question, Josie, about the work-based learning program you mentioned to develop products. Was it Bioscope?
Yes. Yeah, Bioscope is a program that we developed with all the colleges in the Bay Area. Most of them do it, where the students in a class will come together to make products. For example, Petri dishes, plates, they call it. The plates have agar, and they are very aseptic, and they are used in the laboratory to experiment, to do experiments, to grow bacteria, for example. And they do other products that they use in their classes in the colleges or in the high schools. And we have quite a number of high schools, thousands of students use our products in their high schools to teach their classes. You know, it's a big help for the teachers.
Thank you, Josie.
You're welcome.
All right, everybody. This has been amazing. I really appreciate everybody. I mean, and Nanette, Sharon, and Joelle, thank you so much for being partners with us to put this all together, and everybody that you have had to bring in, all of the presenters today. I can't thank you enough. And I just think we all have the same goal, you know. In K-12, we're trying to get our students connected to what they want to do, and we can only do that through partnerships and collaboration. And it's so important for the people that I work with. I mean, we're just always trying to figure out, who do we talk to, how do we get them involved, how do we get our students exposed to the different opportunities, and how do we also get them feeling like they have the confidence and the self-advocacy to speak up for what they need, and just build those internal structures that Audrey was talking about, just having the ability to feel confident that they can go out, like that they know where they're going and they have the skills to do it, because we're all struggling with different things, whether we have a diagnosed disability or not. We're all struggling with different things, and I really value working with these teams of people. We have been together now, this is my second year in this role, and we've been having these meetings for 2 years now, and it's just an amazing group of educators that I feel really honored to be a part of. And so with this just new partnership and collaboration that we have, like, we are, I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say we're just thrilled to be connected, and we'll continue this. I mean, this is just the beginning. So to all of you who I've known for a while, thank you so much for coming. For all of you who are new partners, thank you so much for coming. And just make sure you get your email into the chat box so that we can send